last unit of this subject, that is microelectronic components and special materials. Now in this session we are going to discuss the various parts regarding with this unit, that is the special materials and the microelectronic components which are generally used for various different applications in a day-to-day life. The first one, that is nothing but the photo emission. Uh, the definition of photo emission is that when a light of appropriate frequency and intensity is incident upon a certain material, the energy of light is given to the electrons to enable them to leave the surface is called as photo emission. Means what? The emission of electrons is due to the incident light with appropriate frequency and intensity is occurs with the help of the photo emission concept. The photo emissivity is to be carried out with the help of the photoemissive material with the concept that if we apply the incident light on that particular frequency and intensity on that photoemissive material, then the outermost orbit it should be releases its electrons, and according to that the conduction of a current is to be occurs. This is called as a photo emission. During the 1887 to 1905, various scientists are observed the facts regarding with this photo emission. They are evolves the various corollaries regarding with this photo emission is that the rate of photo emission is proportional to the intensity of the light. The photo emission rate is directly proportional to the incident light. Then the next one is the velocity of emitted electrons does not depends upon the intensity of light. The velocity of emitted electrons does not depends upon the intensity of light. The maximum velocity of photoelectrons increases as we increase the frequency or decrease the wavelength of incident light. So there are three major concepts regarding with the invention is that the rate of photo emission is proportional to the intensity of light. The second one is the velocity is not depends upon the intensity of light. And the third one is that the maximum velocity of photoelectrons increases as we increase the frequency. So the photo emission rate is directly proportional to the frequency. So let's check what are the various definitions regarding with the photo emission concept are to be there. The first one is nothing but the dark current. The current flowing due to emitted electrons in the absence of light is known as a dark current. As we know, if we apply the light on the photoemissive material, the electrons it should be flows. But in the absence of light, the small amount of current it should be flows through that photoemissive material, and that current is should be known as a dark current. Its value is ideally zero, and practically it is as small as possible. The typical photocathode emits about 100 electrons per centimeter square per second at room temperature, due to which a dark current of the order of 10 raised to minus 17 angstrom per centimeter square will be flow in that one. The next one, that is nothing but the sensitivity. It is defined as the number of electrons emitted per lumen intensity of the incident light. The sensitivity is measured in microangstrom per lumen. That is, The number of electrons emitted per lumen intensity of the incident light is known as the sensitivity. The spectral response of photoemissive material is close to that of a human eye. The third one, that is nothing but the quantum efficiency. It is defined as the mean number of electrons emitted from a photoemissive surface at a specified wavelength per incident photon is nothing but the quantum efficiency. It is expressed as a percentage value. The quantum efficiency is also known as the quantum yield. Its ideal value is 100%, but practically it is much lower than that. The next definition regarding with the photoemission concept is that threshold wavelength. It is defined as the wavelength of incident radiation at which any surface will stop emitting the photoelectrons should be known as threshold wavelength. Then the various photoemissive materials used in the various applications are the silver oxygen caesium, antimony caesium, bismuth silver oxygen caesium, and multi-alkali photocathodes. We will discuss them one by one. The first one, that is silver oxygen caesium cathode. The first commercially produced photocathode used the material, that is caesium on oxidized silver or AgOCS. The features of such type of materials are as follows, that is low sensitivity. Its useful range extends from visible region to the infrared region. We can use it for deletion of much longer wavelengths, that is beyond 12,000 angstrom. Its dark current at room temperature is large. The spectral response of this material matches closely with that of the light produced by the tungsten lamp. These cathodes can be used for temperatures up to 100 degrees centigrade. So these are the important features of this material. We have the another one, that is antimony caesium cathode. The antimony caesium cathode, it was observed in 1936 by Gorlich that the alkali metals forming compounds with antimony, the lead to bismuth, have extraordinary photoemissive properties. Out of all of these, the antimony caesium cathode is the most commonly used cathode. Some of the important features of antimony caesium cathode are as follows, that is, this is the most widely used cathode material. Next one, that is, it is probably that the most important cathode material. This cathode is sensitive to variable wavelengths. It has the highest quantum efficiency. The peak quantum efficiency can be up to 30%. The sensitivity of this cathode can be increased by introducing oxygen into tube and then reheating it. The non-oxidized antimony caesium cathode has a very low dark current at room temperature. So this is the most important properties regarding with the antimony caesium cathode it is to be considered. The next one, that is bismuth silver oxygen caesium cathode. The important features of these cathodes are its spatial response is very close to that of a human eye. The value of dark current at room temperature is greater than CS3Sb cathode but less than, that is antimony KCm cathode but less than the silver oxygen KCm cathode, that is AgOCS cathode. This cathode can be produced by following different methods. The different methods are to be explained with the next slide, that is multi-alkali photocathodes. Some photocathodes are produced by using multiple alkali metals. An example of this type of cathode is Na2KSB, which has a peak sensitivity in the blue region of the spectrum. The important features regarding with these multi-alkali cathodes are: it can be used up to temperature of 150 degree. It has a low thermal emission. It have a low dark current and having the moderate quantum efficiency. The another example of small alkali photocathodes is the cathode with the following features, that is K2C5Sb. That is nothing but it have the high blue sensitivity, it having the very high peak quantum efficiency as the sensitivity it is to be concerned, and the dark current of this type of material is very low. So up to this part the photo emission concept it is to be over. Now the next concept is nothing but electroluminescence, that is in a standard diodes the release of energy in the manner of heat, but it in the light emitting diode the release of energy is in the form of photons would emit the light energy. The entire process is known as electroluminescence and the diodes are known as light emitting diodes. We will discuss this point in a detail. When the excited particles emit light energy in a results in a luminescence. Similarly, the electroluminescence occurs when the particles gain their energy from an electrical field before emitting light. The basic process of this concept is that the electroluminescent material are basically semiconductor material. In this material, the energy of an electrical field produces a localized high free charge current density. When this charge carriers combines, the light gets emitted. There are two types of electroluminescent devices. The first one that is electroluminescent panels and the another one that is heterojunctions. In the electroluminescent panel, a film containing particles of phosphor is used. This film is placed between two electrodes. Nowadays, a lot of attention is being paid to the light emitting diodes. But the panel contains a polycrystalline phosphor, whereas the LEDs are single crystal devices. The heterojunctions are defined as the junctions formed between either a metal and a semiconductor or between two different semiconductor materials. But the efficiency of such devices is very low. These devices are used in the circumstances when the semiconductor material to be used cannot be made in P and N forms. So over here we can explain this electroluminescence with the two distinct properties regarding with this material it is to be used. That is, there are two distinct mechanisms that can be produced, that electroluminescence in crystals, that is pure or intrinsic, and charge injections. The principal differences between the two mechanisms are that in the first, not the current passes through the phosphor, that is electroluminescent material, and the second, the luminescence prevails during the passage of electric current. In the intrinsic electroluminescence, thermal activation and the electrical field liberate atomic electrons from donor levels into the conduction band. The many of these conduction electrons are accelerated by the field until they collide with electroluminescent centers, ionizing them, that means ejecting electrons from their atoms. Light is emitted in the normal way as soon as an electron recombines with an ionized atom of the center, because the effect dies away when the constant voltage is applied. An alternating voltage may be used to create a sustained light emission. So over here we can see that the electroluminescent concept, it is to be carried out with the help of the electroluminescent panels, that is with the help of intrinsic material, and the second one, that is the heterojunctions, which are generally formed between either a metal and semiconductor or between the two different semiconductor materials. Due to that, the electroluminescent results in luminescence. There are another concept with the LEDs are to be concerned, that should be nothing but the injection lasers. In the light emitting diodes, the photons, that is the light energy, are emitted spontaneously. But it is possible to stimulate light emissions under the suitable operating conditions. Under these conditions, the PN junction diode becomes a laser. The long form of laser is light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. In the laser, the excited electrons lose their energy in the form of light by the electromagnetic interactions. When the photons of light produced by the spontaneous emissions stimulate them, the photons thus generated along with the incident photons can be stimulate a cumulative emission of photons. An interesting thing to note that the stimulated emission, the incident and the emitted photons are always in the phase and they travel in the same direction. In all the materials, the thermal equilibrium is the most important. The number of electrons present in the lower energy state is always greater than the electrons present in the higher energy level orbits. For the stimulated emission to take place, we have to invert the situation by some means. So, the diode injection lasers, it is necessary to feed a sufficient number of minority charge carriers, that is electrons and holes, from across the junction in order to achieve the inversion. So, such type of material, that is injecting lasers, having the same concept of electroluminescence, are to be applied on a smallest type of lasers, where their applications are to be used for practically and communication purposes with the antimeters. There are so many other types of materials are to be used for the different colors of the injecting lasers. We will discuss these various materials in next lecture. Thank you.